Hello, I'm Carolyn Stephenson. I'm the owner and sales director of the Huntsville Event Magazine and the Huntsville Business Journal. Our hearts go out to all of those who are suffering during this crisis. We want to take action to help individuals and businesses in our community in a safe way. This interview series will introduce you to companies that partner with us to highlight so many nonprofits in our area. I would like to introduce you to David Nast, who is President and CEO of Progress Bank. Thank you for joining us today, David.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Carolyn.
Well, could you tell me a little bit more about your position as President and CEO of Progress Bank?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Progress Bank, let me tell you a little bit about it. First, we're about a $1.5 billion in asset community bank, and we're headquartered in Huntsville, Alabama. We have offices, Huntsville, Madison, Decatur, Florence, Birmingham, and in the Florida Panhandle. We started out roughly 12 years ago here in Huntsville, Alabama, and Huntsville's certainly been good to us, just like it has a lot of other small businesses. I helped start the company and have been the CEO and president since inception. So I help run the company with a lot of other really talented folks, and we're just very pleased with the success our bank has had, and we owe that in large part to all of the communities in Alabama and Florida that we serve. So I just help run the company, and I stay out of the way.
I'm sure you do a lot more than that. I'm sure you do a lot for their success. Speaking of that, how long have you been in the banking sector? How long have you been in banking?
My entire career. I started in banking in 1982, and so I've been a banker my entire career. I spent most of the early part of my career with a large regional bank, and then left that bank in 2006, and then began organizing Progress Bank in 2007. So we're a small business organization, just like a lot of businesses, in the markets that we serve, and we have all the same challenges and everything that everyone else goes through. As a small company, we have all of those same things that we work through on a daily basis.
Now, you say you've done this. This has been your career. What inspired you to get involved in banking?
That's a good question. But banking kind of found me, actually. I went to a small school, college in Alabama. I was finishing up graduate school. Finishing up undergraduate school. Wasn't quite ready to leave school yet, and went straight through and got my master's degree. And while I was there, I just like a lot of college students, I interviewed with a number of companies that came to the career counseling center at the school, and had a couple of different opportunities. And at the time, it was called the First National Bank of Birmingham, was there interviewing, offered me a second interview to come to Birmingham and interview with some other folks, and ended up offering me a job. So it kind of found me. Now my background in school was business and finance and economics, so all of that fit together, but I had never really started going to college to be a banker. It just kind of found me, and so I think it suited me from a career and a professional standpoint. It was something that I guess just naturally felt very comfortable with, and so a lot of people start out in different industries and end up making changes along the way, and I was very fortunate to have a good career path and had opportunities to continue advancing, and so it was just something that I enjoyed and always felt good about from a career standpoint.
One thing that all of us have been talking about since March is COVID-19. That's pretty much been on the forefront of everybody's mind. I wanted to ask you how that has impacted your bank. How has this whole circumstance for the last 3 months impacted your business?
Yeah, not only has it impacted our business, professionally, personally, it's impacted practically every one of our clients in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it hits us really hard. And so, really from day one, when we determined that there was a real issue that we were going to have to deal with, and there were a lot of unknowns, we started making sure that number one, that our employees were safe, that our employees and everyone around us were safe, and that we put measures in place to protect everyone, our clients included. And then as time went on, we had to put in even more protective measures. So
Mm-hmm.
so we closed our lobbies, our branch lobbies, and all of our offices. For example, we went to appointment only. We started working in teams of people, like in departments that could accommodate it. We would send half of our people home to work at home and the other half in the office, and then swap that out, during a month. And all of that was to, if we did get exposed or infected, then we would have other people that could come back in and continue operating the business. So, we just had to put good safety measures in place, good hygiene in place, make sure everybody was safe and healthy. And but at the same time, we had to continue operating the business. Now,
Mm-hmm.
banks fall under the essential business category, and I don't think of us as necessarily essential. We're certainly not as essential as various services that a city provides, police and fire and all of those things, and a hospital and a drugstore and I don't consider us essential in that way, but we do provide things that people need.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had to be just like everybody else. We had to be smart about how we operated the business, continue operating it efficiently, and make sure that we were here to take care of our customers' needs. So it has been a big impact on us. I think as we've learned a lot more about the virus and how it spreads and all of that, I don't think we're as afraid of it as we were 2 or 3 months ago, but we're still just as vigilant as ever in terms of, just protecting ourselves and those that we come in contact with. So definitely has affected us. I know you're probably going to want to talk a little bit about the Paycheck Protection Program, and that was easily one of the top 2 or 3 events that I've ever been involved in a 30, almost 40-year career. And so, just that event alone required, our all of our bankers to work a lot of hours and a lot of weekends and get that put in place during some very difficult circumstances. So the work environment changed, the things that we had to do on a daily basis changed, and it affected us just like it did you and every other small business in our community.
It sounds like you had many challenges that you had to overcome, especially with the PPP. I mean, your experience as a local community bank, how was that? I mean, in terms of preparing, and I know things changed. I know that the rules changed occasionally in the midst of getting things prepared for those who were applying. Yeah, how did that, like you said, you had to work long weekends, but what has been your experience in whole with the PPP and how it's helped your clients?
Yeah, you know, early on, we were anxious to get the bill passed, you know, the original CARES Act bill.
Right.
And there, you know, there's a lot of political wrangling that went on to get that through the House and the Senate and to the president for his signature. And so once the bill was put in place, you know, there was an enormous amount of learning that we had to go through to understand how to administer our part of it. The biggest part for us, you know, there were economic impact payments that went to individuals, and that's, you know, that's pretty easy. We just needed to make sure our clients received those payments and that we were there to kind of help facilitate that. That part was easy. The payroll Paycheck Protection Program piece of it was very complicated. And so early on, like you said, the rules were changing and the guidance was evolving, and so we had to, you know, stay very, very close to that and understand that so that we could guide our clients through that. So early on, it was a little bit confusing in some ways. It was cumbersome to administer, but I think once we and others kind of got a system and a good process in place, and the SBA and the Treasury finalized all of the rules and all of the electronic systems that needed to be put in place to run this thing. Once all that got in place, we were able to turn these loans around pretty quickly. And as you know, there were 2 rounds of money approved. The first round lasted, gosh, I can't even remember now, 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't very long. And so we went through that money, and then the Congress approved a second round of money, so the second round was pretty easy because, you know, we learned a good bit from everything during round 1. And so you know, we took applications. We made sure our business clients understood what kind of expenses they could use to qualify for the loan and the forgiveness part a little bit further down the road. And so so the application process, then the funding process, and all of that went fairly well for us. Our bank handled that in a really hands-on kind of way. We certainly made use of the electronic systems and the very sophisticated computer programs that we have to help us get through that. But a lot of it was just hands-on work and working nights and loading applications and getting everything through our, you know, operations division. And so it's just you know, it was a lot of work. And but we got through it. Our bank, for example, in all of our markets combined, we ended up doing over 1,800 loans, something in excess of 180 million in loans. And so all of that happened literally over a 5 or so week period. And to put that in perspective, you know, that's probably the loan volume that we would do in a year's time, and we did that in about 5 or 6 weeks. And so it was a lot of loans. A lot of customers were able to keep their employees in place, and so, you know, now we're moving on to to the next phase, and that's the forgiveness, sort of the forgiveness phase. And hopefully all the small businesses that qualified for the loans have now begun to have payroll expenses and utilities and rent and everything else that are qualified expenses, and those are accumulating. And our hope is that all of these loans will now be forgiven. There's been some changes in all of that. The time frame has been extended, which I think is good, because there were, frankly, a lot of businesses had restrictions on whether or not they could be open, and so 8 weeks was just not enough time for them to accumulate the payroll expenses and utilities and all of that. So now that time frame has been extended, and so my hope is that everyone will now have enough qualified expenses to get those loans forgiven. I mean, that was the original intent. Let's get some capital in these businesses' hands so that they can continue to operate, and at some period when they've accumulated enough expenses, let's get these loans forgiven. And that's the basic premise of the whole plan, and that's what we're shooting for over the next 30 days or so, is to get all those loans forgiven. So it's been a very good process. It was very complicated. It was a lot of work for us and our clients, but we do think it was a very good program. And like I said earlier, it's in terms of the amount of work and the amount of good that it's going to do for our business community, it's easily one of the top 2 or 3 events that I've been involved with. You can go back to 2008, 9, 10 and say, gosh, that was as difficult a time as we've ever gone through, the Great Recession. But this, while it's completely different and it was caused by something completely different, it still ranks right up there with that time frame in terms of all the business and economic disruption, along with everyone's personal lives certainly being disrupted as well. So
I do have a question regarding PPP, and this might be common knowledge and I don't know. You do have certain companies that have applied for the PPP and have gone through the PPP. Some businesses have been able to rebound very well from being closed, and some have not. Is there something else in place for those companies that don't have the revenue that they once had? Is there an extension of PPP, or are there other options available to companies who are maybe now looking at operating at 50% the revenue that they're used to having? Are there any options for them?
Well, I'm going to answer that in a couple of ways.
Okay.
First of all, the PPP program is still in place, and there's still money available.
Okay.
The last number I saw was 100 billion or something like that was still left for businesses to take advantage of. And the SBA announced earlier this week that the program will end on June 30th. Okay. So you still have another couple of weeks or so to take advantage of that program. Beyond that, the Federal Reserve has also put some loan programs in place that I think will be helpful to small business. And without going into too much detail on those, it's basically loans with some very favorable terms, very favorable interest rates, terms, payment deferments, so that someone can get a loan and not have to begin repaying it for a certain period of time. Very attractive interest rates. It's not loans that can be forgiven like the PPP,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still very attractive terms. So there are other loan programs in place that someone can take advantage of. Okay, and then but the last thing that I would say is that all of our small businesses have learned to do business a different way,
Okay.
and um, the small business owners are hardworking, smart people that just want to run a good business, make a good living, be successful, and take care of their families.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've seen, and the best example, I guess, that comes to mind would be a restaurant. Restaurants were very hard hit because they were forced to close and forced to close for a long period of time. And so they learned how to do things online when they had never done online before. They learned how to do things through delivery and curbside pickup, and then when they were able to open, they very quickly learned how to follow the rules and open up their inside dining within the social distancing rules and using all the hygiene and safety precautions. So I would say this, that everybody has been affected, but the small business people are really smart and creative and hardworking, and they have figured out ways to do business differently. And I, it is sad that there will be, I think, probably some businesses that will go away, and that's terribly unfortunate. But I think the vast majority have figured out different ways to do business to kind of get them through this period of time. And so now we're all hoping for good medicine or a vaccine or something else that's going to allow us to completely open up and get back to a little bit more normal life. But I think some of those things that all of these small businesses learned, not just restaurants, it's everybody else. Everybody has learned how to work from home. And we've learned how to do this. We're doing Zoom meetings versus face-to-face. So there's all these things that we never did before that probably won't go away, even after things kind of get back to normal. So I'm still hopeful that that all of our businesses will get back open and be successful like they were before. I'm still very hopeful of that. I just haven't lost faith in the small business person, because they're, like I said, they're awfully smart, hardworking people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this because I feel like I've learned so much from this conversation with you. Are there any people out there that you would like to thank during this time that have just been a huge support for the bank?
Oh gosh. Yeah, there are a lot. Our employees here, in the middle of some very, very difficult times and some unsafe times, kept working and doing what they were supposed to do to operate our company and take care of our clients. So our example is exactly what you and every other small business company that tried to work through all of these issues, all of those employees should be thanked for keeping our economy, and the people that work at grocery stores. So think about working in any sort of environment where you have a lot of people coming in, especially 2 months ago when you didn't know how this thing worked, and you
Right.
didn't know how to protect yourself. Think about those folks that kept going to work.
Mm-hmm.
The hospitals, the same sort of thing. So, those are, those are heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So very thankful for them. Our community leaders, the leadership in all of the cities that kept things moving along under very difficult circumstances. Gosh, you have to thank them. And not only through the virus and all of that, it hadn't gone away. It sort of feels like it's gone away because it's not the top headline anymore.
Not right now.
Yeah, we've got other very important issues that are certainly being discussed and challenged, but the virus still hadn't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
And so our different community leaders should certainly be thanked for getting everyone through this thing, and it's it's not over yet. We still have apparently a long way to go, but gosh, you just have to thank all of those people that went about their jobs helping others when it really wasn't safe to do that, and they're still continuing to do what they do. A lot more precautions are in place now, and I think people understand how to prevent infection a little bit better than we did 2 or 3 months ago, but it's still there. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend that works at the hospital that I see on a pretty regular basis, and he said, we've been very fortunate, and I'm just talking about Madison County at this time, but he said we've not had a lot of infections, but the ones that we've had are pretty bad. And he said to me, everybody may think it's hard to get the virus, but you don't want it because it's bad. And so it's still there, and it's still affecting people's lives. And apparently if you get it, I don't have anybody near me that's had the virus. I don't know exactly what it's like, but everything I'm told is that no matter what your age or your preconditions and all of that, if you get it, it can be pretty bad. And so I just hope everybody's continuing to be safe, protect themselves, protect everyone around them, do the simple things that seem to really make sense, washing your hands and don't touch your face and all those kind of things, and mask if it's appropriate. So anyway, that's a rambling answer, but there's
that's fine.
There's a lot of people to thank, and there's thanking everybody for that matter that has taken care of themselves and respects everybody else around them. That's important.
Absolutely. I would want to also ask you, and this is my final question, is how can our listeners learn more about Progress Bank and just learn more about you and Progress Bank and what you offer?
Yes, we're very much a traditional bank. We are mostly a commercial bank. We deal with a lot of small medium-sized businesses. We certainly have a very traditional bank when it comes to the way that we handle consumers. We have traditional branches and all of the loan and checking and electronic banking services that come along with servicing commercial and consumer clients. But then we also have a very significant mortgage banking division. we put a lot of people in homes, and so we're very proud of that. We do a lot of construction loans, we do a lot of residential mortgages, and we help people get in homes. And so that's something that we're very committed to. And then we also, something a little bit different about us, we have a financial services group that I mentioned earlier. Our bank is about $1.5 billion in assets, so pretty good size small community bank. But our Progress Financial Services, the investment advisory side of our bank, has just under $1 billion in assets under management. So we invest money for people and advise them on how to, how to handle their investments. And that's a significant part of our company too. So commercial banking, consumer, mortgage, and financial advisory services. And so, we like to think that we're pretty good at all of those things, and that's what we focus on. And we've got a lot of good people to help clients in those banking areas.
They can also go to your website or find you on social media to learn a little bit more about you as well.
Yeah. Website, myprogressbank.com. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm sure there's others that I don't even know about, but we're very active on social media to let people know what we do and that we're here to serve the communities that we're in. I think I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. We're in Huntsville, Madison, Decatur, Florence, Birmingham, with a couple of offices, one in Vestavia Hills, and then a couple of offices down in the Florida Panhandle, one in Okaloosa County and one in Walton County.
Wow.
So we're, we're here to serve with everything we have, and we appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to clients and help take care of their needs.
David, I thank you so much for your time today and answering my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate it.